Greetings. My name is Jim Wickens from nfldraftfanatics.com. And the purpose of this video and podcast is to demonstrate how FANATIC mode works using the mock draft simulator at NFL Draft Fanatics. FANATIC mode, which is this button right down here, okay, it defaults to off. So when you turn this on, it guarantees a unique mock draft. This will determine how many unique mocks you want to do. So I'm going to set that to 5. We're going to do 4-round mocks for the Panthers. But before we begin, I want to go to team needs. And I want to look at the Carolina Panthers team needs and player list. So at nfldraftfanatics.com, there are 32 teams. Each team has a unique player list. To see your team's player list and the rankings of the players, find your team. The player list is on the far right. Okay. And this player list is what the simulator uses whenever the Panthers pick. So you're going to notice most of the top players here, that was the order they were on the board when the first board was loaded many months and weeks ago. Okay. So because the Panthers don't have a first round pick, a significant number of the players at the top of the board haven't changed ranking simply because people can't pick them until the Panthers are there in the second round, right? So anyway, so let's go back to the simulator. And we're going to do 4 rounds. FANATIC mode on. We're going to do 5 different unique mock drafts, Panthers. The key word is unique. So when you have FANATIC mode on, you will not be able to duplicate any picks across the 5 mocks. Okay? So it's going through round 1, doing what the simulator does, and it will get to Carolina's pick at the top of round 2. This is what the board looks like for the Panthers at the beginning of round 2. So according to this, they need linebacker, center, guard. I wouldn't really go with too many of those positions this early, but hey, let's go take a look at the center list. Okay. Van Pran at the top of the second, I probably would do that. So I want you to observe he is 63rd on their player board right now. So anytime you pick somebody at nfldraftfanatics.com, they move up the board. Now, how much do they move up? It depends on what round you pick them in. Okay. I picked a player who was ranked 63 at the beginning of round 2. He will be higher than 63. And if you're watching the podcast now, feel free to go look at the Panthers player list and see where Van Pran is. He's already moved up. I'll show you that at the end of the demo. So still looking for wide receiver, guard, linebacker. So wide receiver, linebacker, guard. And we're in round 3. I like Thrash. If he is there in round 3, I definitely like that pick. And it's going through and it's finishing up round 3. And Panthers have a compensatory pick. So they have another pick. And they have a tight end at the top of their player card. I think that's a little bit rich for Bell to go at the end of round 3. So I am going to focus on another need, such as defensive tackle or guard. And I definitely like Stackhouse. And I'm basically playing Russian roulette to see if the tight end was going to fall to round 4. So the tight end got to the top of the Panthers player board because enough fans have picked that tight end. He was at the top of the player board in round 3, at the end of round 3. So, okay, so they didn't have a 4th round pick. So Panthers have a 2nd and 2/3, and that's their day 1 draft capital and no round 4 picks. Okay, so we're back to the top of round 2. Let's look at the center list again. Jackson Powers Johnson is currently 89th. I am going to pick him, and he should become higher than 89 at the conclusion of the demonstration. Okay. And then we took center. So we're looking at wide receiver or linebacker. So Johnny Wilson at the beginning of round 3, he's 63rd on the player board. I think I like that. Okay, more than likely the tight end is going to be sitting at the top of their player board again. Okay, so this time there was one player that fell that was ranked higher than Bell. I want you to observe that Bell is 85, but I'm not going to pick him. Right? I'm going to float down and try to find value at some of the other positions. Like at the end of round 3, I definitely like Wingo. And then Hall was also available right below him. So I like those 2 players in round 3 over the tight end. Let's see if me ignoring the tight end, Bell, has him fall from 85. Even if he falls from 85 to 86, it was because I picked other players that weren't named Bell. Okay, so now I have completed the second of 5 unique mock drafts. So if we look, I can't pick at this point. I picked Van Pran and I've picked Powers Johnson. Neither of them are available. It will not let me pick the same player. Okay, so when we say unique, it will not let you pick the same player in consecutive mock drafts. Okay, so if this were the board, let's see what wide receivers are there. I like Polk. I like Mitchell. So I'll go ahead and take Polk. So now it's finishing up round 2, about to spin it to round 3. And let's look at the tight end list. No, don't like it. Defensive line at the top of round 3, like Dorless. He was 60th on the player board at the time I picked. And I call out what rank they are because at the end of the demonstration, we will go look at the Panthers player board and see if I changed it. Okay. And then we'll go guard. So if you constantly ignore a player, meaning you're always picking a player, like in this case, I'm going to be ignoring Bell, picking players that are ranked lower than him. If you ignore him enough, you're going to see his rank slide down. So if you don't pick somebody that's ranked high, the simulator is going to subtract a little bit from their value in its algorithm, and that's how his ranking will slide down. Okay, so what other, let's see, so they need defensive line. I like Jenkins at the top of round 2. And then what wide receivers do we see here? Let's see, Brendan Rice. Okay. Anais Smith is currently ranked 128. So I'm going to pick him, and he should be higher than 128 at the conclusion of all of this. I believe this is the 4th unique mock draft that I have done using FANATIC mode. And then I've already gone defensive line, so not going to go Gabe Hall. Cornerback. Okay. Round 3, I'm going to go Grimes. He's 155. Okay, we are starting the 5th of 5 unique mock drafts using Fanatic mode on the NFL Draft Fanatics mock draft simulator. Fanatic mode is a way to guarantee that every pick that you make during those mocks is unique. So at this point, I like Leonard Taylor at the top of round 2. I like Rice in round 3. And I want to remind us of what the ranking was of the tight end. So I believe he's 85. So the tight end was already taken. Oh, Bell was taken here. I never took him. Yeah. So I was making sure that I never took him. Okay. So Bell is off. Is there a center in this round? Zach Frazier at the end of round 3. Okay, so we'll finish this. And then we're going to go look at how the player board changed. Okay, so the simulation finishes. I'm going to go back to team needs. And we're going to find the Panthers. And we're going to look up all of the players that, well, I'm not going to look up all. We're going to look up some of the players that I picked. So we find the Panthers. We go to their player list over here. Let's look up Van Prin. Okay. He's 22. I believe he was 60th or so at the time that I picked him. Let's look up Thrash. Okay. 77th. Okay. Look up Powers Johnson. He's now 25th. I don't remember exactly where he was, but he was not in the top 30. Okay, Polk. He's now 19th on the Panthers draft card. Jenkins. He's 21st on their card. Grimes. Grimes was pretty far from where I picked him. So in the 3rd round, he moved to 155. He may have moved up a couple of spots, but that wasn't very far. And then let's look up Zach Frazier. 131. He only moved up a little bit. So the way to think about that is that a round 1 player will generally move up almost to the top spot. So the most recent person to pick somebody in round 1 will have their player go to really close to the top of your team's board. As long as the player you're picking is in the top 20 or 30, you should see him move to the top. If you pick a player that's 200 in the 1st round, you'll have to pick him 2 or 3 times to get him to go to the top. Then in the 2nd round, the question would be, how many 2nd round picks would Carolina have to trade to get to the 1st round? And the answer is somewhere between 5 and 7. Okay. There might be some spots in the 1st round where you could trade 3 seconds to get up into the 1st, but generally it's going to be about 5 to 7 2nd round picks. It also depends on whether you use the Jimmy Johnson trade chart or somebody else's. But you can use that to figure out, well, if I pick somebody 7 times in round 2, do they go to the top of the round 2 board? It gets worse in the 3rd round, right? So in the 3rd round, how many 3rd round picks would it take to trade to get a 1st round pick? The answer to that is somewhere between 20 and 30. You have to pick somebody 30 times in the 3rd round to get them to go to the top of the 3rd round board. Fourth round, it's going to get even more extreme, right? So the idea behind that is we want to give fans control of rounds 1 and 2. So generally speaking, as a fan, you should be able to control who the simulator takes for your team in rounds 1 and 2. And if you get really creative, you can get control round 3. There's some other videos on YouTube that we've recorded for each team, and you can see some of how I demonstrated that. By the time rounds 4 through 7 get there, you will find that the boards and the simulations at NFL Draft Fanatics are more random rounds 4 through 7 than any simulator. And that's because as teams start addressing needs, as well as how player grades go, what one person has as a 5th round grade, somebody else will have a 7th round grade. That's just the way that it works. So don't assume that you see one board at another site and everybody agrees that that player is going in the 6th round. Those grades vary all over the place. You'll see that effect here at NFL Draft Fanatics. So if you need to just do a simple mock draft, come to our site, give it a try. If you want to obsess over the player boards, learn the 1st round challenge, the 2nd round challenge, the 3rd round challenge in Fanatic mode. And that's where you're going to have a lot of control over the player board. Okay. So we just did a demonstration of Fanatic mode right here, which makes the mock draft unique. Part of making the mock draft unique is that the player board can be adjusted and refined quite well using this technique. So if you have questions on any of these or any part of the simulator, please find me on Twitter or X at NFL Draft Fanatic. There's no I in Fanatic on my Twitter. And we can talk about mock drafting. We can talk about the players that are available and any other aspects of the simulator or site that interest you. There's plenty of information on the YouTube channel on how a 1st round challenge works, 2nd round challenge works, etc. There's also information on the channel on defensive linemen, linebackers, running backs, with different guests coming on to explain portions of their draft board. So I welcome any dialogue on the 2024 NFL Draft. I look forward to the upcoming draft season. I hope you are doing great wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for taking 20 minutes of your time to watch and listen. Try a mock draft. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much and have a great day.